Hello everybody and welcome back to Sailing Madness. The weather in the UK is getting warmer and we are getting closer to the sailing season, and that means in this channel I'll be able to bring you much more sailing in future episodes. But for now I'm afraid this episode is going to be all about some more upgrades, and I'm quite excited about the upgrades that I've got to show you in the episode this week. Now, first of all, if you watched the episode 2 weeks ago, you'd have heard me talking about fitting davits at the back of the boat. I just bought that brand new high field tender, and I didn't want to fit davits at the back of the boat because I want to fit a hydrovane at the back of the boat, and I knew that I don't have room for both. So after a bit of consultation with some other people and a bit more research, I have had a change of mind. So let me show you the first upgrade on the boat for this episode, and that is a set of nice shiny new davits on the back of the boat. Now these davits are the removable type, so I can take these off when I'm not going to be using them, and they do also, if I can just show you this, you can just turn them around and fling them in like that, so they don't take up any more space at the back of the boat. Now the reason why I did go for davits in the end was because, as you know, I bought that high field tender, and that tender has a solid bottom which makes it a little bit heavier than a tender that has a blow up bottom. So after speaking to various people, we all came to the conclusion that to have the davits on the back of the boat is going to be the easiest and the best solution for carrying such a kind of heavy tender. So the plan will be, when I'm doing a long passage, I will still have to put the tender underneath the boom on the deck, and that'll free up the space on the back here for the hydrovane. And then of course when I get to my destination, then the tender can come off the deck and it can go back on the davits, because then I won't need to use a hydrovane. So that's the plan. So that's the first upgrade to show you. The second upgrade is at the front of the boat. Okay, so the next upgrade to show you is a brand new anchor and some new anchor chain. Now this anchor is an ultra anchor. Now this particular one is 21 kilos or 46 pounds in old money, and it's also got the ultra flip as well on it at the end, the ultra flip swivel as they call it. And I've also got down there in the anchor locker 60 meters of brand new 8mm grade 40 anchor chain. Now this anchor is actually one size too big for what they recommend for a boat for this size. They recommend a 16 kilogram anchor for a yacht of this size, but that, according to the data sheet, is only suitable for a boat up to 35 foot. We're 36 foot, so I thought that was probably going to be a little bit too small. So that's why I went for the anchor that is one size too big. Some people recommend you go two sizes too big, but the next size up from this is 27 kilos, and I think that was probably going to be a little bit too big. So there you go, a nice shiny brand new ultra anchor that hopefully will keep us held in place in conditions when it's blowing even more than it's blowing today. That wind is quite strong. Let's go inside and I'll show you the rest of the upgrades. Right, okay, we are out of the wind and inside the boat, and as you can see, I've got a table full of upgrades to show you here today. And because, as I mentioned, we are getting closer to the sailing season here in the UK, the emphasis on this little lot is safety. And the first thing I want to show you is this clever little device here. Now it's very small, it's a lot smaller than what I thought it was going to be. This is called a PLB. Now, if you don't know what that stands for, it stands for Personal Locator Beacon. And this bad boy could potentially one day save my life. Now, if you watched the previous episodes, you'll know that I am pretty much going to be doing an awful lot of solo sailing this year. Yes, friends and family will be joining me from time to time, but the vast majority of my sailing is going to be solo. I'm going to be going from here to wherever. Friends and family will join me when I get to where we're going. We'll have a little cruise around, then they'll go home and I'll have to sail back on my own. So this thing here could save my life, because as a solo sailor, the biggest fear that solo sailors have is that if they get knocked overboard, they're effectively dead. Because let's face it, if you're on the boat on your own and you go over, there is no one else on the boat that's going to turn it around and come back and pick you up. You're going to be bobbing in the water and the boat is going to be sailing off into the distance. And even in the lightest of winds, not even an Olympic swimmer will be able to swim quick enough to catch up with the boat. So I'd stand no chance. But this thing here could save my life, because a personal locator beacon basically is exactly that. If I trigger this now, it will give the authorities my exact location via GPS and via a special radio frequency, and then they will be able to coordinate a rescue and come and pick me up. Now, before you can use one of these, you've got to get them registered, and it's a very easy process. If you're here in the UK, you go on the .gov.uk website, click on, do a search for register a PLB, and it comes up with a very simple process. First of all, you've got to create an account, verify your email address and all that sort of stuff. And then when you get one of these have unique numbers. And then when you register that device on the website, you key in all the unique numbers, and then you key in on another page all your details about your boat, about yourself. And then on the third and final page, you then key in 3 contact details of who you want them to contact in the case of an emergency. And I've put my wife and my daughter and my mum and dad down. And basically what they'll do, if I go overboard and activate this, then because this is registered in the UK, it goes to the Coast Guard agency in Falmouth. They'll contact the people on my emergency contacts list. They will then be able to tell them, yes, he's out sailing, it looks like it's a genuine emergency. And then because this will give the emergency services my exact location in the sea, they can then hopefully scramble a lifeboat or a helicopter to come and pick me up. And the way this works is very simple. If you're in the water, you just activate the aerial by unclipping it like that, and you press the power button, and then that's all you do. You get a notification on the screen that your SOS has been received, and then I guess it's just a case of sitting around or floating around and waiting to be rescued. You do a little test every so often just to test the battery, and I think the battery in this, it says on here, it lasts until January 2029, so I've got a good long time on this battery. You press the T button, it does a bit of flashing. I'm not sure the camera's going to pick that up, but eventually on the screen it says self-test passed, got a tick there, and then it'll switch itself off. So that is going to be on me all the time when I'm sailing solo, because hopefully I'll never have to use it, but if I do, hopefully it will possibly save my life. And the beauty of this is as well, it doesn't matter where I am in the world. Although this is registered here in the UK, I could be in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, say for example, and if I activated it there, it would still go back to the Coast Guard in Falmouth, but they will coordinate rescue over on that side of the world on my behalf as well. So a very, very handy piece of equipment. They're not cheap, but they're well worth having. And now, to keep this on me all the time, what I've also got is one of these Spinlock bags. Now, all the life jackets I use are the Spinlock brand. I rather like them. This is a brand new one that I've also just bought. The beauty of this particular one is if you go overboard and you get knocked out, and let's say you're facing face down in the water and you're knocked out, this thing will turn you around on your back and bring you up on the surface and keep your head above the water. And the idea is this then slips onto the I'll tell you what, the easiest way is, let me put this on and I'll show you. Well, that was quick. Right, okay, life jacket on, PLB in the hand, and as you can see, the little pouch that I bought extra, the PLB just sits in there. I can zip it up. It doesn't get in the way. I can feel it there, but I can still do everything that I wanted to do. And that means now, of course, with the life jacket on, I know that the PLB is always connected to the life jacket. Now, before I take the life jacket off and show you some more of the other stuff that I've got, let me just show you this. I think this is very, very clever. This is a flare, but it's not the pyrotechnic type flares. This is an LED flare, and I think this is so good. Again, this is going to go in the pouch with the PLB, so if I'm overboard at night and I need rescuing, I might be difficult to spot in the sea. So with this bad boy, just hold that button down for a couple of seconds, and I can hold this up in the air, and hopefully anybody anywhere near me will be able to see me. This is supposed to have a range of about 7 miles, and there's various different brightnesses, but I think that is that could be worth its weight in gold if you go overboard of a night and you're waiting to be rescued. Very, very clever piece of kit, and the batteries on this last for a long time as well. It's got a lithium battery inside, and you can replace the batteries in these, which is good. And as I said, it's got a range of about 7 miles, so that is going to live in the pouch with the PLB. So I think, hopefully, solo sailing at least, I'm pretty well covered. If I go overboard in coastal waters, I think there's a very good chance that I will be rescued. Right, while we're on the subject of flares, as you can see, I've got 2 brand new flare boxes here. Why is there 2? Well, there's a story there. I'll tell you that in a second. But first of all, as you can see, I've got the coastal flare pack and an offshore flare pack. What's the difference? there's not a lot of difference really. In the offshore flare pack you get obviously more flares, but you also get these floating flares that just puff up a load of smoke from the surface of the sea, and that's what you need. Obviously if you've got a helicopter flying around, what you don't want to be doing is letting off parachute flares that shoot 300 meters into the sky. So why have I got 2 flare boxes? Well, I ordered the coastal, no I didn't, I ordered the offshore flare pack, but what I got was the coastal flare pack. And because these things are pyrotechnics, they are dangerous things to transport, what happened was is when I opened the first box when it arrived and I realised that they sent me the wrong pack, I got onto the Chandlers. Now the Chandlers don't stock these, they come straight from the supplier. They got onto the supplier and said, you've sent in the wrong ones. They said, oh yes we have, sorry, we've sent you the wrong ones. So what they said is you can keep the coastal pack as a form of an apology, and we'll send you out the offshore pack as soon as we can. So the offshore pack came a couple of days later, so I've now got 2 flare packs, which may sound like it's a good deal, but the problem with flares is when these expire you have to pay to get them disposed of. You can't just put them in the recycling, you can't just let them off for fun, you've got to pay someone to take them away. Now these are valid until 09/26, so I've got till September 2026 before I've got to pay to get 2 lots of flares disposed of. But I suppose between now and then it's probably better to have more flares than less flares on the boat, so I don't mind so much. Now the reason why I've got the flares now is because when I bought the boat, the previous owner told me the flares on the boat are out of date. The guy that did the survey for me, the pre-purchase survey, he picked up on that as well, so I've known all along that the flares on the boat are out of date, so I've got to pay to have those disposed of, which for me is, I'm in 2 minds really, because obviously I've read the instructions of how to use these flares and how to operate them, but the thing is though, at some point in the future, hopefully I never do have to use these, but if I do, the chances are I could be in a life raft, it's going to be windy, it's going to be stormy, it's going to be raining, it could be in the middle of the night. Am I going to remember how to use all these flares? Probably not. Just by reading the instructions a couple of times, things like that don't always sink in necessarily with me. The way I learn, and I think the way most people learn quicker, is to do it, is to use them. So I don't see why I can't use the old out-of-date flares to practice. Now I'm not talking about letting them off here in the marina, but I live 50 miles inland. Is there any harm really in me letting those flares off in my back garden just to practice? I don't think there is any harm in that whatsoever. But I'm not allowed to do it, so I'm not going to do it. I've got to pay to have them disposed of. Now, going back on the .gov.uk website, having a look on there, there's 2 places locally around here where I can take them. One is Pwllheli Marina. I'm not sure if it's actually a marina itself or a business at the marina that disposes of them for you, or, and this one is closer to home for me, and that's a company in Liverpool. So at some point in the next couple of weeks I've got to take the old flares in the car on a little journey up to Liverpool and find the company there that disposes of them and pay them to do that. And of course I'm going to have to pay twice to get these disposed of in 2026, but I don't mind that, as I said, because it means I do have extra flares on the boat, and I think it's probably better to have extra flares than fewer flares. Well, that's my theory anyway. Right, okay, the next thing to show you is not necessarily anything that is to do with safety, but if you are a regular YouTuber that watches lots of other sailing channels, you may have seen various other YouTube sailing channels using a portable battery power bank. Well, this bad boy is exactly that. This one is from Solar Green Tech, and I think this is absolutely incredible. I know one of the popular brands is EcoFlow. This, I think, is better than anything you've seen on YouTube in the past. This is made by a British company, and I found this company a couple of weeks ago when I went to the caravan show in Birmingham with my sister and her husband. So there was a company there selling these. Now this British company, they get all the components, they put them all together, and they fit them in these lovely water resistant cases. Now if you don't like the Leary yellow, you can buy it in boring black, but I like the yellow. So this is a wonderful battery power pack. Now I've had to write the figures down because I can never remember them. But there is a 1280 watt hour battery, lithium battery in here with a 1500 watt inverter. It comes with a 120 watt solar array for recharging. You plug the solar into there. You can also recharge it through the mains through this charger, and you just plug the mains into that and then that into one of the 12 volt sockets. And as you can see on the AC side, we've got two UK plugs, and I'm told you can have European plugs or American plugs or whatever plugs you want fitted if you don't want the 3-pin UK plugs. On the DC side, you've got two 12 volt cigarette lighter sockets, and you've got a USB-C and a USB-C charger there as well. And I think that is just wonderful. You plug your bits and pieces in, you run the cable back out through here, you can close the lid, lock it down, and you've got a watertight box there to keep everything nice and dry. So I think that is superb. The reason why I went with this one is because this one is powerful enough to boil the kettle. So if you can imagine all the electricity's down on the boat, how the hell am I going to make a cup of tea? Well, this bad boy is going to do that for me, and I'm going to show you how right now. Okay, so while I'm finishing my tea, let me just show you the last thing on the shopping list for this episode. Not necessarily a safety item this, but something that's very handy to have on board. And that is I've bought two of these poles from buoycatcher.com. The first one is the bog standard boat hook, although this isn't necessarily bog standard, it's a stainless steel one. And what I like about these poles is that they extend to 3 meters, they go out a long way, they feel really sturdy and well built. When it's extended its fullest, it doesn't feel like it's going to bend like some of the cheaper models do. I also like the grip that they have at the bottom end here. So that's the standard boat hook one. And then what I've got here is the very clever Buoy Catcher hook. And let me take you outside and show you how this works, because it just plays with my head every time I use it. This is very clever. Okay. So for the benefit of this demonstration, you just have to pretend that this stanchion post here is the eye of a mooring ball. The principle is exactly the same. So you get your nice little end here. Here's the line that's going to tie my boat to the mooring ball. I'm just going to put that end through here. And then grab that end, pull that through, and there is my line, nicely round the stanchion post in this case, but a mooring ball in real life. And how that does that, this clever little thing here, completely messes with my head, but it works and it's great. So there you have it. That is one very clever boat hook that I think every boat should have. And as I said before, how it does that thing where it wraps the line round something solid is it just does my head in every time. Right, well, just for a little bit of transparency before we finish this video, just to let you know that everything I featured in this episode I've bought with my own money. The manufacturers had no idea that I was going to be doing a review on their product, and they certainly never gave me their products for free in order to feature them in this video. Now, there is one little exception to that, and that is the company buoycatcher.com. I paid for all of this, but what they did send me for free was the stainless steel boat hook. I got that as a gift in return for reviewing their product in this video and for sending them some video for them to use in their own social media. But apart from that, everything else was paid for with my own money. Now, if you've got any comments or suggestions, please put them in the box below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and if you've not done so already, please subscribe. In the next episode, we will be doing some sailing because we're about to move this boat to a new marina. Why am I going to a new marina and where am I going? Well, watch in 2 weeks' time to find out. Until then, take care, see you soon, bye-bye. Mainly really just the amount of flares you get. You obviously get more in the coastal. But this basically is a little device that could potentially one day, oh fuck off you. So it's 21 kilos or 46 pounds in old money. I'm going to do that again because that bloody plane's a bit annoying.